Throughout history, Srđ Hill has served as the silent guardian of Dubrovnik. Its character has shifted from a source of the city's identity to a massive defensive shield, and finally into a symbol of modern resilience. In the early Middle Ages, Srđ was covered in a dense oak forest. The Old Slavic word for these forests is Dubrava, which is the origin of the city's name, Dubrovnik. During this period, the hill was a pastoral area, eventually named after the church of Saint Sergius, built on its slopes, reflecting the early Christian influence in the region. The strategic potential of the hill was truly realized in the 19th century when the French and then the Austrians built a fortification ring up there. The hill's most critical moment was during the Siege of Dubrovnik in 1991, when a small outnumbered group of Croatian defenders held the fort on the top of the hill against intense shelling and ground assaults from the Yugoslav People's Army that in fact in that time was transformed into Serbian Montenegrin army. The Yugoslav People's Army slowly began to transform into the main tool of Greater Serbia politics during the 1980s after Tito's death. In 1987, the entire defense system was reorganized. They launched Plan Jedinstvo, or the Plan Unity, a massive top-secret restructuring. The goal? To move away from the old republic-based defense and centralize everything into military districts. The position I am visiting today is the part of that story. I've been walking around Srđ for my whole life, and it was never clear to me when the fortifications that I will show in this video today were built and why. What I did know is that these same fortifications that were built before the war in 1991 served as the last line of Serbian and Montenegrin forces towards Croatian positions that same year, during the Siege of Dubrovnik. So we are entering the realm of conspiracy theories. However, that was quite like this. But let's take a look from the perspective of a satellite. Under Plan Jedinstvo, this wasn't just a trench. These structures were reinforced ammunition depots, and these concrete semicircles, they are designed to house 130mm M46 guns. These Soviet pattern cannons were meant to be the claws of the JNA, capable of striking targets 27 kilometers out into the Adriatic. But while the JNA was building this unity plan in the late 80s, not just to guard against NATO or the Warsaw Pact, but to cement internal control over the republics, they weren't alone. How about American KH-11 keyhole satellites were watching? Every bag of cement, every slab of reinforced concrete was being logged by the US intelligence in real time. The JNA thought they were building a secret shield. The Americans saw a high priority target. Okay, let's sketch a layout of battery itself. As you drive toward the summit of Srđ today, you'll see two fortifications that most tourists use as photo spots. But these weren't built for views. They were auxiliary observation posts. They sit about 300 meters from the main command post, providing a secondary eye for the battery. In December 1991, this was the front line. These were the last JNA fortified positions during the Siege of Dubrovnik. From here, the Croatian defenders in the Imperial fortress were only 800 meters away, the same distance as the old city center itself. Now let's look at these massive concrete trenches, the main ammunition depots. Because the M46 uses a separate loading system, ramming a 33 kilo grenade followed by a propellant case, these depots had to house massive amounts of heavy crates. They were separated from the gun pits and each other, so a single direct hit wouldn't trigger a chain reaction. Here is the command and observation post. Notice this narrow slit, originally designed for rangefinder, but for some reason it was later bricked up and closed off. The battery consisted of 5 pits, meaning 5 7-ton cannons. Each had its ready-use niches. Projectiles on the left, propellant on the right. 12 rounds were kept on standby at each gun. Once spent, trucks would ferry more from the main depots. Crucially, this wasn't a permanent coastal battery. It was designed to be activated in wartime by units from Trebinje or Boka Kotorska. In 1991, these pits were repurposed into nearly indestructible machine gun nests, while the 130mm cannons themselves were actually positioned further away at Dubrovnik airport. These pits allowed the JNA to fire directly on the city at rifle range. Even today, you can see the traces of their presence. The Serbian coat of arms engraved into the stone walls. The darkest day of Siege of Dubrovnik arrived on December 6, 1991. That morning, JNA troops launched a desperate assault to capture the Imperial fortress on the summit. The attack was repelled by a handful of defenders, and in a moment of tactical frustration, the JNA did something that made no sense in military terms. They vented their anger by shelling the UNESCO-protected old town. It was a massive strategic own goal. Images of Dubrovnik in flames were broadcast globally, turning international opinion firmly against the JNA and accelerating Croatia's international recognition. Rationally, it's hard to understand. They already held the high ground. They didn't need a fortress to dominate the city. But while the fires burned, a very discreet operation was taking place high above. Remember those eyes monitoring the construction of these batteries in the late 80s. On that day, American KH-11 Kennen satellites, the same tech used in the recently ended Gulf War, were watching in real time. Just 20 days before the final collapse of the Soviet Union, the lenses of $1 trillion intelligence network were focused on the smoke rising from this small medieval town. History was being recorded, frame by frame, from the edge of space. The history of Srđ is written in concrete, stone, and digital archives of space. If you find these deep dives into military history and the defense of Dubrovnik valuable, please consider subscribing. It helps me continue to document these forgotten positions and tell the stories behind them.